Deciding whether to separate from your partner is a huge decision that involves so many different variables. The children, how much money is it going to cost? What is my life actually going to look like after? Am I going to be alone and then regret having separated from my partner? Or if I stay, am I going to continue to be this miserable for the rest of my life? So in this video, I have 6 questions that you can ask yourself to decide whether you should stay or go. Know that being in this limbo stage is the hardest part because limbo is so uncomfortable. We don't know how to picture the rest of our life. We are stuck in that endless loop of thinking, if I do this, then this could happen. If I do that, then that could happen. But because we have no idea what it's actually going to look like, we can tend to torture ourselves with the possibilities. These questions are going to help you get out of that limbo state. And once you're out of that limbo state, know that anything that you need to figure out, you will be able to figure out. You just need to make a decision and then the rest will follow. So the first question to ask yourself is, how long have I actually been thinking about separating from my partner, and when does it most come up for me? So if you only think about separating from your partner when the two of you are in the midst of a really horrible fight, it could be that the idea of separation is actually what we call a protest behavior. So it feels super helpless, you're not sure how to change things for the better, and you just want to get as far away from your partner as possible. But it's an anxious behavior because part of you might actually be hoping that when you say, I'm done with this, your partner says, wait, let me change, right? So it's what we call a protest behavior that happens with people that have an anxious attachment style. Now, if you're interested in attachment styles, I'm going to be doing a whole lot of videos on that coming up, so make sure you subscribe to this channel to learn more. So if you mostly think about leaving in the middle of a big fight, then like we just talked about, it might be a protest behavior that comes about from anxiety. However, if you're thinking about leaving when things are very calm, when it's just almost like this quiet voice that says, I just need to get out of here. I don't like the way I'm being treated, or I don't like the way our relationship is going. I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. And I think I would just be happier on my own. I would rather be alone than in this relationship. Then that could very well be your intuition telling you something's happening here, something's got to change. This is not something that I'm okay with any longer. So you might want to journal about it. You might want to really think about your options. And sometimes it can help to write about what each path looks like. And then as you're reading what you've written, see how you feel inside. And when I say see how you feel inside, what I mean is, do you get a calm feeling inside, a peaceful, almost an excited feeling inside when you think about leaving? Or do you feel really sad and hopeless, like you would just be miserable on your own? And when you think about staying, do you feel anxious, fearful, or do you feel like, okay, you know, I can do this. There's just a few little things that need to change. So that leads me into my second question that I want you to ask yourself. How many things are there that you actually want to change? So I have some couples who come, I'm a couples counselor, and I have some couples who come into the office with one very specific problem, or like a couple of very specific problems. The relationship as a whole they find is good. So for instance, they find their partner attractive, they enjoy spending time with them, they generally feel loved in the relationship, but let's say there's a difference in sexual desire. So one partner wants it more, one partner wants it less, or let's say they have different ways of interacting with money. So maybe one person spends a lot and the other person would really like to save. It could be that, you know, there's an issue with raising kids, they have different parenting styles. So if there's like 1 or 2 or even 3 issues in your relationship, but when you think about your partner, you really truly want to be with them, you just don't know how to fix these 1, 2, or 3 really kind of disturbing issues for you, then what I would suggest is you're probably not at the stage where you actively want to separate. Probably what you want to do is get really specific help on those issues, get specialized help on those issues, because when we have a couple of problems in our relationship, often there is a way to start communicating about it differently, understand what your core needs are. There's so much you can do to shift your own perspective and work together in a different way on these troubling issues like money and sex and kids and stuff like that. There's so much you can do to maintain a positive, healthy, happy relationship, even if it's not perfect. But you need skills. Like these things that we struggle with, it's often because we lack the knowledge and the skills. So what I would suggest is pinpointing exactly what you want to change, and then going about gaining that knowledge and doing what it takes to repair those parts of your relationship. Even if you have to invest money in counseling, it's going to be a lot cheaper at the end of the day than divorce. If, however, it feels like even if my partner completely changed tomorrow, I would still not want to be with them, it means you're most likely emotionally detached already, and that's a very difficult place to come back from. So if you're really feeling like you don't really feel anything, you don't really even want your partner to work on these issues, what you really want is for them to say, you're right, I'm done with this too, and let's move on, then you're at the point where you kind of know what you want, and no amount of counseling or taking different courses is necessarily going to change your mind. To go from being completely emotionally checked out to engaging in a loving and supportive relationship again, it's a tough process because there's a reason that you emotionally checked out. There's a bunch of probably needs that weren't being fulfilled, or that you didn't know how to ask for your partner to meet those needs, right? So when you see this oftentimes, we call it like a burnt out pursuer. Oftentimes in a relationship, there's one person pursuing and the other person distancing. This could also be an anxious avoidant cycle that happens. And when the pursuer has been pursuing and pursuing and pursuing, but not getting anything in return, after a period of time, they get completely burnt out and they have to emotionally cut themselves off. So they build a wall where there wasn't a wall before, and they just say, I'm done. So maybe you can actually live in a relationship like this forever, but it's not satisfying, it's not fulfilling, and oftentimes, especially the burnt out pursuer feels very hopeless, very helpless, very alone. So if you're in that situation where you're burnt out, and honestly, it's like, you know what, even if my partner changed a bunch, it wouldn't really make me feel anything because I've already been so hurt by them, chances are you kind of know that you want to start looking to get away from the relationship. And so that's where you can start to kind of put your energy and time. So my third question I kind of already alluded to in question number 1, but my third question is, how do you feel when you think about leaving them? So you can write down the different paths that you can go. You know, you can leave your partner, you can stay with your partner, you can pursue an open relationship, you can, there's so many different things you can do. Whatever comes to your mind as a potential option, I want you to write out what that might look like for you. And then as you're reading it back, I want you to just close your eyes and think, okay, how does this feel? Do I feel lighter? That's a great way of thinking about it. Do I feel lighter or do I feel really heavy? If you feel lighter, chances are there's something about that that's exciting. There's something about that that's pulling you. If you feel really heavy when you think about a specific path, that's probably not the path for you. So when you find a path that feels light, whether it's being on your own or mending the relationship in some way and learning how to manage your differences and, continue on with this relationship, whatever it is, I want you to really crystallize that vision, because it's only through having a very exciting, alluring vision, something that's pulling us, that we make it over all the humps that it takes to get there. So if it's the idea of leaving that feels really good, I want you to really crystallize what that feels like. So when I leave, when I'm on my own, I'm going to feel light, I'm going to feel expansive, I'm going to be hanging out with my friends, I'm going to be trying new hobbies, I'm going to be all the things that you're going to be doing, that you're looking forward to doing. I want you to write that out, crystallize it. You could even create a vision board around it. Whatever you want to do that helps to remind you of your eventual end goal, that's going to help motivate you to get through the really hard times, like having the discussion about separating, like going through the legality of it, like paying for lawyers, which can be really expensive, and it's painful to pay that amount of money. But if you have something that's really pulling you, it doesn't feel painful. It actually feels exciting. It's a great price to pay for the end result that you want. Similarly, if your end result is for you and your partner to patch things up and just be really, really happy together, I want you to think about what that actually looks like. Really solidify it in your mind. Again, create a vision board or write out a day in the life when you feel this way, like when this has happened, when the two of you are better. What does it feel like? What are you doing differently? How are you showing up to the relationship differently? And really allow that vision to motivate you through the couples counseling and the buying e-courses online or reading different books about it and doing the actual work of interacting with your partner in a new way, which can be very scary because anytime that we're doing something unfamiliar, it feels very scary to our bodies, right? So you really want to make the unfamiliar familiar by crystallizing your vision and allowing that to pull you forward through all of the tough times. My next question is, does your partner continue to not be able to or not try to meet your needs? Despite you having asked in a different way, despite you working on your own communication and trying out couples counseling and doing all the things that really are necessary to change your dynamic. If you're doing all the work and your partner is not meeting you halfway, not understanding where you're coming from, if they're constantly dismissive, if they tend to avoid intimacy, and you've tried everything you possibly can to create a different cycle, but you're the only one doing the work and they're not interested in the therapy, or they're not interested, a good line is, I don't need therapy, you go to therapy, right? If that's the response, if they're completely dismissive of anything that you say you need in order to feel fulfilled in the relationship, then that's a very good indication that your attachment styles they're not matching up. Because some people have a need, these are called anxiously attached people, and I'm one of them, so I understand. I'm a bit anxious and a bit avoidant. So I understand both of these insecure styles of attachment. An anxious person has the need to be loved, kind of constantly, right? We might call them needy, but it's actually a natural biological urge that about 25% of the population has. Our society is quite individualistic, so we tend to look down on people that need other people, but our biology tells a different story. We all have attachment needs, and anxious people really need to know that their partner is going to be there for them no matter what, that their partner is going to show up for them. And that is not a bad thing in a relationship. To want your partner to show up for you no matter what is actually a very wonderful way to have a secure base. So an anxious person needs someone who's able to provide a secure base. That could be another anxious person where they've managed to kind of figure out their styles and really show up for each other. Or it could be a person who has a secure attachment style where that comes quite easily to them to just be there for their partner. If an anxious person is with an avoidant person, oftentimes that cycle that I was talking about even before with the pursuer distancing cycle can be very, very difficult for the anxious partner and also for the avoidant partner, because the avoidant partner tends to avoid intimacy because it scares them. So they suppress their own attachment needs, often by criticizing their partner, putting their partner down, just basically thinking whatever they can to make them not really feel those loving, connected feelings towards their partner. And if you go through that over and over, it can be very demoralizing for the anxious partner. So if that's the situation for you, and no matter what you try, your partner is just not able to meet your needs because you have two different attachment styles, and one person is just, doesn't see the value in working on it or doesn't think that they've done anything wrong, then chances are you're not ever going to be able to have a satisfying relationship with that person. Doesn't mean you have to leave, but accepting that you're going to have to make some kind of large concessions to be in this relationship is important. Knowing that I've tried everything when it comes to this, maybe I'm not going to ever feel that loved in this relationship. Once you have that knowledge, then you get to decide what to do with it, right? You can say, okay, well, I'm out of here then because I want a chance at, some kind of relationship happiness that I'm not able to get in this relationship. Or you can say, you know what? I can deal with this. We have other priorities. Let me fill my bucket elsewhere. Let me spend more time with friends and family. Let me spend more time on the hobbies that really fill me up. So you have choices, but in order to really know what your choices are, in order to even get to the point where you feel like you have choices, you need to really accept what the reality of your relationship is. Question number 5 out of 6. Are you only staying for the children? If you're only staying in your relationship for the children, chances are you've reached the emotionally checked out point in your relationship where even if your partner changed a bunch, you're not really sure what it would do for you. If you're only staying for the children, know that Kids are negatively impacted by divorce, but they're also negatively impacted by parents who stay together but who don't actually share any kind of loving bond, especially when those parents are hypercritical of each other, especially when they're mean to each other or about each other to the kids. What's most important is not, do we stay together or do we separate? What's most important is, how can I still be kind about my partner to my children and around my children, so my children don't feel like they have to take sides, don't feel like, there's something wrong with my mom or dad because look at what, my other parent says about them. You want to protect your children by not putting down their parent who chances are they love deeply. Even if your partner has messed up a lot, chances are your kids still love them, because kids are designed that way. We're wired to really love and admire our parents. We don't know any different. So what you want to do is make sure that you remain kind about your partner and say things like, your mom or dad is such a wonderful person, and we still have so much respect for each other. And people live in all sorts of different relationship systems. Your parent and I are not living together, but we still share a really special bond. And us being married or separated doesn't disconnect our bond. We'll always be, we'll always be caring for each other, right? And as you say that to your kids, you want to really make that a reality. You really, because the thing that a lot of people forget is that when you think poorly about someone, it actually just makes you feel bad. And when you think highly of someone, it makes you feel good. So part of it's tricky, because when you're separating from someone, one of the ways you're able to separate from them is by thinking about the negative stuff in the relationship. But if you continue on that path after the two of you have separated and you're not able to see what's good about your kid's parent, then you're going to continue to feel just kind of bad, and your kids are going to end up feeling bad. So what you want to do is remind yourself that there were reasons why the two of you were not a good match, right? But that person is still a great person in all of these other ways. There's a reason that you decided to be with them in the first place. And so you can be not a match for each other, and still your partner can still have redeeming qualities. Your ex-partner can still have redeeming qualities. So focus on those redeeming qualities when it comes to your kids. And the final question is, have you lost trust in your partner because they've had an affair or betrayed you in some way? Or alternately, have you betrayed your partner in some way? Rebuilding trust is a lengthy process. And after an affair, it takes at least 1.5 years on average to get back to a trusting and loving place with your partner, if the two of you are doing the work necessary to get to that space. So I have a course out, a very thorough course on rebuilding your relationship after an affair. So if you are interested in seeing if you can rebuild your relationship after an affair, definitely check that out. The link is in the description below. If there's been a betrayal that happened that you just feel like you're not going to be able to get over, and you kind of know that you don't want to be with someone who would do this type of thing to you, then it's possible that you're just ready to move on, right? If you've betrayed your partner in some way, it could be that you've emotionally checked out of the relationship. It could be that you have a need that you haven't been able to fulfill in the relationship, either because your partner's not able to fulfill it or because you're not asking for that need to be met. So either way, there's work to be done here. There's work to be done after an affair or betrayal, but it's up to you to decide, do I want to stick it out and do this work with my partner? And that's the big decision. If it's a relatively new relationship and you've already been betrayed and you're just like, why am I taking this kind of behavior? Like, why am I not establishing my boundaries? Then that's a sign, right? That's a clue as to what you really want. If, however, let's say you have a very long history with this person and, you believe that there was some external reason that they did what they did. If you're able to not take it personally and you're able to say, we have so much together that I want to really be able to continue on with this relationship. I believe that my partner is willing to put in the work. Let's see how it goes. Or you can give it a timeline, right? Let's give it 6 months. Or I'm just all in and we're just going to do what we can to work through this. We're on the same page about that. Then continue on with the relationship and do whatever work it takes to make that happen. It is possible to heal from a betrayal if both partners are willing to do the work and if both partners are truly committed to creating a safe and secure relationship again, because it does take a lot of work. I'm Jenna Thorani. I'm a couples counselor. I absolutely love sharing this type of information with you. If you have any questions at all, I would really encourage you to go to my website, jennathorani.com, and you can reach out via the contact form. I have a lot of different courses out. So far I have an affairs course out, but there's a stop fighting course that's happening that's going to be launching very soon. There's a turning your toxic relationship around course that will also be launching soon. So if you're interested in either of those courses, check out the website, send me a message, and I'll be sure to send you the information as soon as those courses are out. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to this channel if you want more relationship information, and I will see you next time. Bye.